Hi, welcome to another live transformative teaching. I see all my name is Kumide Kwame, and today we're talking about wealth 101. I know we've all heard about wealth, but when we talk about wealth, there's one famous thing that comes to mind: money, which is also another aspect of wealth. But money is not the only type of wealth, right? When we talk about wealth, wealth must always bring fulfillment to the three aspects of man, which is your spirit, your soul, and your body. Right? Your spirit, your soul, and your body. So when building wealth, you must focus on wealth that solely builds your spirit, wealth that builds your soul, and wealth that builds your body, which is your physical man. So let's start by defining what wealth is. And as you can see written on the board, wealth is any value, is anything of value that improves the quality of life and brings freedom to an individual. Right? So there are words of emphasis over here. Words of emphasis in that value that improves, right, the quality. That improves the quality and brings freedom. So in other words, any wealth that you are desiring, as an individual, it must be of value to improve the quality of your life and also bring freedom. So if you are building or if you have any type of wealth which is not improving your quality of life and also bringing you freedom, it can't be categorized as wealth, right? And like I said, there are several aspects of wealth. So the first part is your spiritual wealth. So types. So the first type of wealth is spiritual. Are you following? So the first type of wealth you must focus on as an individual in your quest or in your journey is your spiritual wealth. Spiritual wealth is about you as an individual, your spirit man connecting with your source, which is God. Right? So knowing the God that you serve, okay, and also knowing the God in light of who you are as an individual. Then the second aspect of wealth is mental. The second aspect of wealth is mental wealth, right? Mental wealth. Then the third aspect of wealth is physical. Physical wealth, now focusing on your well-being as an individual, the physical well-being as an individual. Then the fourth aspect of wealth is relational wealth. Now, this aspect of wealth focuses on you and how you relate with the people around you, your environment. This aspect of wealth is also very important. Then the next aspect of wealth is financial. It's financial wealth. You see where the money comes in now. So if you don't build your spiritual wealth, the mental wealth, your physical wealth, and your relational wealth, focusing on your financial wealth alone, imagine we are lacking the various four different kind of wealth if you focus on only financial wealth. So now that we know the various types of wealth, or some of the key pillars you must know when building wealth. So pillars of wealth, right? Others also call it principles of wealth, and which governs all the aspects of wealth that you must build as an individual, right? The first one is principles. One, there are different principles for building the various kind of wealth, right? So when you are desiring to build your spiritual wealth, the principle for building spiritual wealth is not the same principle that can be used to build mental wealth. Likewise, physical, relational, and financial wealth, right? There are different principles for building the various kind of wealth. And also, the various kind of wealth is built on principles. So there's a principle for building spiritual wealth, a principle for building mental wealth, a principle for building physical wealth, and a principle for building relational and financial wealth. Pillar is 2. Consistency. Right. No matter the type of wealth you want to build, another pillar you must have in mind is consistency. Without consistency, you can't build any form of wealth. Then the third one is then the third aspect is spiritual wealth does not complement mental wealth. Actually, so in other words, when you focus on your spiritual wealth alone and don't focus on your mental wealth, your growth in spiritual wealth does not complement your lack of growth in mental wealth. Likewise, the other aspect of wealth. So when you are building wealth, you ensure that you are focusing on every aspect of wealth listed here. I hope this video goes a long way to help you. In our subsequent videos, we'll look at the various types of wealth individually and look at principles that can help to build all this type of wealth to ensure that we get or we find fulfillment as an individual. Thank you for making time to watch this video.